What's going on, football fanatics? Before we dive into today's absolute madness, smash that subscribe button if you want to stay ahead of the curve on football's biggest stories. Trust me, you're going to want to be subscribed for what's coming next. A 15-year-old just made seasoned Premier League defenders look like Sunday League players. And no, this isn't some viral TikTok clip or a FIFA career mode fantasy. This is real football. Professional football at the highest level. And here's the crazy part. By the end of this video, you're either going to be absolutely convinced you've just witnessed the next Messi, or you'll be questioning whether the hype train has completely derailed. Drop a comment below with your prediction right now. Future Ballon d'Or winner or just another overhyped Wonderkid? I'll be reading every single comment. Max Dowman. Memorize that name. Screenshot it. Tattoo it on your forehead if you have to. Because in 5 years, you'll either be watching this kid lift the Champions League trophy, or you'll be wondering how on earth Arsenal managed to let another generational talent slip through their fingers like they did with so many others. Hit that like button right now if you love discovering football's next superstars before they become household names, because that's exactly what we're doing today. And this story is going to blow your mind. Let me paint you a picture that sounds like something straight out of a Football Manager Wonderkid database. December 31st, 2009. While most of us were probably getting ready for New Year's Eve parties, maybe watching Premier League matches, a future football prodigy was being born in Chelmsford, England. Fast forward to today, and that same kid is now absolutely terrorizing defenders who've been playing professional football longer than he's been alive. I'm talking about grown men, seasoned professionals, getting nutmegged by someone who probably still needs his mom to pack his lunch. At 13 years old, Max Dowman made his debut for Arsenal's under-18 team. Let that sink in for a moment. Most kids that age are still figuring out which boots to wear, still learning the offside rule properly, and this kid is already making teenagers 4 years older than him look like they've never seen a football before. September 19th, 2024, the UEFA Youth League, Arsenal versus Atalanta. And lads, if you're not subscribed yet, now would be a perfect time because stories like this don't come around every day. Picture this scene. A small figure in Arsenal red sprints toward goal. The Atalanta defender, probably thinking he's got all the time in the world against some kid, casually jogs back. Big mistake, massive mistake. Bang, goal. Net bulging, keeper beaten, commentators losing their minds. Max Dowman, at exactly 14 years, 8 months, and 19 days old, had just become the youngest scorer in UEFA Youth League history. Not just Arsenal's youngest, not just England's youngest, the youngest ever in the entire competition's history. But here's the thing, and this is what separates the wheat from the chaff in youth football. That record was just the beginning of this absolutely insane story. You know what separates decent young players from absolute legends in the making? It's not just raw talent, though this kid has that in abundance. It's how they handle the pressure when they get bumped up levels, how they cope when suddenly they're not the biggest fish in the pond anymore. Most youth prospects, when they face older, stronger, more experienced opponents, they crumble, they get intimidated. They start playing safe, making backwards passes, hiding from the ball. Not Dowman. This kid, he thrives on it. And if you're enjoying this story so far, which, let's be honest, how could you not smash that like button? It genuinely helps the channel grow and means I can bring you more incredible stories like this one. By December 2024, Dowman wasn't just playing above his age group anymore. He was absolutely dominating. Premier League 2, the breeding ground for future England internationals, the competition that produced the likes of Mason Mount, Reece James, and countless other stars. There was Dowman, still 14 years old, becoming the youngest player ever to feature in the competition, not just Arsenal's youngest, the competition's youngest ever participant, but Arsenal's coaching staff, including Mikel Arteta himself, saw something that made them take a risk that would have most football fans calling them completely mental. They invited him to train with the first team, the actual first team, the team that plays in front of 60,000 people every other weekend. Now picture this scene And I want you to really visualize it because it's absolutely mental when you think about it. You're 14 years old. You've probably got homework waiting at home. You're still getting your mum to drop you off at training. And suddenly you walk into the Arsenal training ground, this multi-million-pound facility, and you're sharing a pitch with your actual heroes. Martin Ødegaard, Arsenal captain, Norway international, someone you've probably got on your FIFA Ultimate Team. Bukayo Saka, England star, Champions League player. Declan Rice, 100 million pound midfielder. These aren't just good players, these are superstars. World-class athletes earning more in a week than most people see in a lifetime. And you're still asking permission to go to the toilet during lessons. Most kids would freeze up completely. Most kids would be so overwhelmed they'd forget how to kick a ball properly. But when the Arsenal coaches watched Dowman in those training sessions, they saw something that gave them goosebumps. He belonged, like genuinely belonged. And this is where the story gets so crazy that if you're not subscribed yet, you absolutely need to be, because what happens next is the kind of football story you'll be telling people about for years. Summer 2025, Arsenal's preseason tour. Manager Mikel Arteta, the same guy who's turned Arsenal back into title contenders, makes a decision that sends shockwaves through the entire football world. He names a 15-year-old in his squad for friendlies against AC Milan and Newcastle United. Not just named in the squad for experience, not just there to make up the numbers. Actually starting these games against AC Milan, and we're talking about AC Milan here, 7-time European champions, the team of Maldini and Kaká. Dowman doesn't just participate, he runs the absolute show. His first touch? Velvet, pure velvet. His vision? Surgical precision. His confidence? Completely unshakable. You're watching this 15-year-old kid ping, passes around like he's been doing it his whole life, dribbling past Italian defenders who've probably forgotten more about football than most people will ever know. If this story's blowing your mind as much as it's blowing mine, hit that like button. We're aiming for 10,000 likes on this video because stories this incredible deserve to be shared. 4 days later, Newcastle United. The Toon Army expecting to see Arsenal's usual suspects. Instead, they get a masterclass from someone who wasn't even alive when some of their players made their professional debuts. Same story, same dominance. Professional defenders, grown men who've played in World Cups, Champions League finals, Premier League title races, getting absolutely schooled by a teenager who still needs a permission slip to miss school. But here's what makes this story even more incredible, and why I genuinely believe we might be watching the emergence of something truly special. Dowman isn't just some pace merchant who relies on being faster than everyone else. He's not some one-trick pony with a decent left foot. This kid is the complete package, and I mean complete. His technical ability is otherworldly. Watch him receive the ball, and if you haven't already, there's footage all over YouTube, and you'll see first touches that most Premier League players would be proud of. His passing, the precision would make a Swiss watchmaker jealous. We're talking about 40-yard crossfield balls that land exactly where they need to, through balls that split defenses like a hot knife through butter. His football brain is what's truly special, though. He reads the game like someone who's been playing for 20 years, not someone who's been alive for 15. He sees passes before they exist. He finds space in areas where there shouldn't be any space. Arsenal's youth coach, someone who's worked with some incredible talents over the years, called him the next Kaká. That's not just high praise. That's expecting greatness. That's putting pressure on a kid that would crush most people. When you're being called the next big thing at 15, the weight of expectations can absolutely crush you. We've seen it happen before, and it's heartbreaking every time. Remember Freddie Adu, the American Wonderkid who was supposed to revolutionize soccer? The kid who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 14? He crumbled under the spotlight, completely crumbled. Or what about Bojan Krkić, Barcelona's golden boy, the player who was going to be the next Messi? He never quite reached the heights everyone predicted, and the pressure played a massive part in that. The football graveyard is absolutely full of next big things who couldn't handle having the world watching their every move. February 2025. Arsenal faced Manchester United in the FA Youth Cup quarterfinals. Now, if you know anything about this fixture, you know the stakes are always high. Arsenal versus United, even at youth level, is massive. But this was different. This was Dowman's moment to either prove all the hype was justified or to show that maybe we'd all gotten a bit carried away. The spotlight was burning bright. The pressure was intense. Everyone was watching. What happened next was pure magic, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. He didn't just play well, he put on an absolute masterclass. We're talking about dribbling past defenders like they were traffic cones, creating chances out of absolutely nothing, playing with the composure of a seasoned veteran who'd been there and done it all before. United lost 3-2, but everyone who witnessed that performance knew they'd seen something special, something you don't see every day, something you might only see once in a generation. They witnessed the future of football, and it was wearing an Arsenal shirt. But here's where the story takes a concerning turn for Arsenal fans. And this is where I need you to pay attention, because this could change everything. Success breeds attention, and attention brings vultures circling. Manchester United, yes, the same team that just got schooled by Dowman, have already swooped in to steal two of Arsenal's brightest prospects, Aiden Heaven and Cheeto Obi, both massive talents, both now wearing red, but the wrong shade of red. You're an Arsenal fan. And if you're worried about what this means for Arsenal's future, smash that like button, because this next part will either reassure you or absolutely terrify you. Now, every top club in Europe has Dowman on their radar. Manchester City with their unlimited resources, Liverpool and their incredible track record with young players, Real Madrid and Barcelona, clubs that can offer Champions League football and global stardom. They're all watching, they're all waiting, they're all preparing their offers. And here's the kicker that should have every Arsenal fan panicking. Dowman can't sign a professional contract until he turns 17. Now that means Arsenal are walking a tightrope for the next 2 years. One wrong move, one moment of doubt from the player or his family, one better offer from a rival club, and they could lose the most exciting prospect to come out of Hale End since Bukayo Saka. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk about what makes the Premier League so absolutely brutal for young players, because this context is crucial for understanding what Dowman is up against. It's not just the physical demands, though, those are intense. Premier League players sprint more, run faster, and cover more ground than any other league in the world. The pace is relentless, but it's the mental side that breaks most players. The pressure that turns promising careers into what-if stories. Every single team you face has world-class players. Every defender has pace, strength, and years of experience. Every goalkeeper has lightning reflexes and has seen every trick in the book. There are no easy games. No time to ease into matches. No gentle introduction to professional football. You either perform immediately or you get exposed on national television in front of millions of people. And if you want to follow Dowman's journey through this minefield, because it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. For a 15-year-old to not just survive, but thrive in this environment, it's almost unprecedented. The physical and mental demands would overwhelm most adults, let alone a teenager. But let's get real for a second, because I think it's important to have this conversation. We're talking about a kid who's still a year away from being able to drive a car. Someone who probably still has a bedtime. Someone whose biggest worry should be passing his GCSEs, not carrying the hopes of an entire fan base. The comparisons to Messi, Kaká, and other legends sound incredible on paper, but they also come with massive, massive risks. What happens if he gets a serious injury? What happens if his development stalls? What happens if the pressure becomes too much and he decides he wants a normal teenage life? Arsenal know they're playing with fire. They're gambling with a kid's future, and that comes with enormous responsibility. But they also know they might be holding the future of English football in their hands. Here's what makes Dowman's rise even more impressive. He's not just dominating at club level, he's carrying those performances into international football. England's youth teams, the same pathway that produced Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, and pretty much every English star you can think of. Dowman made his England under-16 debut in 2024, then his under-17 debut, And he didn't just participate, he absolutely starred. If you're impressed by what you're hearing so far, that like button is looking lonely. Let's show some love for this incredible story, the 2025 UEFA European Under-17 Championship. England's hopes resting on their young shoulders, with millions of fans watching back home. Game 1, Dowman starts. The pressure is immense. This is tournament football, where careers can be made or broken. He scores the opening goal in a 4-2 victory over Czech Republic. At 15, he's already carrying his country's expectations on his shoulders. But here's what really sets Dowman apart from other young prospects, and why I think he has a better chance than most of making it to the very top. His versatility is absolutely incredible. He can play as a traditional number 10, pulling the strings behind the striker like a young David Silva. He can drift wide, cutting in from the right onto that deadly left foot like an early Arjen Robben. He can even drop deeper, dictating play from midfield like a young Luka Modric. This isn't just a player with one outstanding skill that might not translate to senior football. This is a football chameleon who can adapt to any situation, any position, any tactical system. That's why comparisons to Martin Ødegaard are so apt. Like Arsenal's current captain, Dowman has that rare combination of technical brilliance and tactical intelligence that allows him to excel anywhere across the front line or midfield. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the pressure and scrutiny that comes with modern football, because this is something previous generations never had to deal with. Social media didn't exist when most legends were developing their games. Pelé wasn't dealing with Twitter trolls critiquing his every touch at 15. Maradona wasn't having his performances analyzed frame by frame on YouTube. Dowman is growing up in the goldfish bowl of modern football. One bad game and the critics come out in force. One poor performance and suddenly all the hype was overstated. One mistake and the memes start flying. And if you want to see how he handles this modern pressure, because it's going to be fascinating to watch, make sure you're subscribed because we'll be covering his journey every step of the way. But so far, he's handled it with remarkable maturity for someone his age. Watch his interviews, and there are a few floating around on YouTube, and you'll see a kid who's grounded, focused, and surprisingly humble for someone with his level of talent. That mental strength, that ability to stay level-headed despite all the hype, might genuinely be his greatest asset. Here's a question that keeps Arsenal fans awake at night, and it's a legitimate concern. What if they rush him? What if they fast-track him too quickly and burn him out before he reaches his potential? History is absolutely littered with young players who were promoted too quickly and suffered because of it. Michael Owen was scoring wonder goals at 18, looked destined for greatness, but was finished as a top-level player by his late 20s because his body couldn't handle the workload. Arsenal need to find the perfect balance. Give him enough exposure to continue developing, but not so much that they break him physically or mentally. It's a delicate dance, and one wrong step could ruin everything they worked for. If you think Arsenal can get this balance right, hit that like button, because here's what gives me hope about this situation. Arsenal's track record with young talent over the past few years has been exceptional. Bukayo Saka made his debut at 17 and is now one of England's brightest stars. Emile Smith-Rowe broke through as a teenager and became a key player. Gabriel Martinelli arrived as a teenager and has developed into a Brazilian international. The infrastructure is there. The pathway exists. The coaching staff understand how to nurture young talent without destroying it. If anyone can guide Dowman's development without rushing him or burning him out, it's Arsenal. So what happens next in this incredible story? The 2025-26 season is being circled by everyone at Arsenal as Dowman's potential breakthrough year. At 16, he could be ready for regular first-team football, but that brings entirely new challenges that will test everything we think we know about this kid. Premier League defenders won't go easy on him because of his age. If anything, they'll try to intimidate him. Opposition fans won't show mercy. They'll try to get in his head. The media spotlight will be absolutely blinding. Based on everything we've seen so far, everything we know about his mentality and his performances under pressure, the answer might just be yes. But that's what makes this story so compelling. We genuinely don't know what happens next. Here's the thing about once-in-a-generation talents. They don't come around often, maybe once every decade if you're lucky. Arsenal might be witnessing something truly special, a player who could define the next decade of football. Someone who could be lifting Ballon d'Ors and Champions League trophies. But they're also walking the tightrope of a lifetime. One mistake, one moment of poor judgment, one better offer from a rival club, and they could lose him forever. The next 2 years will be absolutely crucial, not just for Dowman's development as a player, but for Arsenal's future as a football club. If you've made it this far in the video, you're clearly as invested in this story as I am. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because this journey is just getting started. Smash that like button if you think Max Dowman is the real deal. What position do you think suits him best? Comment below.